Welcome back to the Circuit Revival, where I'm still trying to make my way through the last of the Nintendo Switches in my backlog. So I've got another one here, which overall looks in a decent condition. It's got some sort of scratches on the back there, but overall looks like all the screws are in place. We can check for a game, which we have none, and then we can check maybe for a card. And no SD card there either, but we'll see what this does. Because these are so old, I have no idea what the problem is with it, but we'll try turn this on and we get nothing there. So what we'll do is we'll move over to the USB. So you can see just in the top right hand corner up here is the USB ammeter there, which will hopefully give us a bit more information about what's going on. I can't see anything major in the USB port, but we'll take a closer look at that quickly just in case. So here we can see into the USB port itself. Now, I think I can see there may be the problem. Some of those pins slightly crossed over. No, maybe not. Maybe it is just really dirty, but I can't tell whether just in the middle here, it looks like there's an extra pin, but that might just be dirt. So let's just give this little clean out to begin with. So with this, I'm just using a toothbrush and some isopropyl alcohol. So that side looks clean, and then this side looks okay actually. So what we'll do then is we'll start just by plugging in our ammeter, which will hopefully give us just a little bit more information about what is wrong with this. So if we watch up in the top right, we're hoping to see 15 volts and then some amp draw, which we see absolutely nothing that side. We'll try the other way. Nothing there either. So let's get this undone. So what we'll start with to begin with is just a visual inspection. There's a few things that I guess I'll highlight to begin with. One is this little pad down here is the water indicator. I'll get just a bit closer to that. So here we are just under the scope, and there's a few little things that we'll look at to begin with. The first one, this is what I was pointing to. This is the water indicator or liquid indicator, which will change color once it's touched any liquid, which would normally expect to see that go a pink color if that's the case. Now, it doesn't look like it's quite done that, but it's hard to see on the scope, but it looks like there is actually sort of just like a waxy layer on the board. A few other telltale signs are things like this, where you can see corrosion in this. I'll be intrigued to see what the other side of this board looks like. So the visual inspection will be great because it'll give you a starting point for most things, and it also tells us for definite that we're going to need to get this board out because we need to see what it looks like on the other side. It looks like maybe it only did hit that one sort of bottom area there, because as we look around, there's not really a lot in the top side. Actually, there's some on here on the actual sort of fan itself. So maybe it looks like it came in through the top and has filtered its way down the board all the way to here, where you can see it around the speaker and everything. So what we'll do to begin with is I'll pull the multimeter out. We'll check if there's any voltage in the battery. We'll get that disconnected, and then we'll just check for some shorts around sort of these obvious areas that look a bit sketchy. So we're in voltage mode to begin with, and what we'll do is we'll put our black probe on the black and then our red probe on the red and see if we get any voltage out of this battery. And that seems to be showing absolutely nothing, which is not a good start to begin with. So that battery looks absolutely dead. So I've just changed over into continuity mode, which is the mode that beeps when we have a complete circuit, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test on either side of these capacitors to see if we have a short circuit. So I'll put my black probe on ground, so I'll just use the port and the screw here, and we'll just go on this side, which we are getting open line, and this side is ground, so that's probably about right. So that's good. So we're only getting that on either side. We'll check the fuse as well to make sure that that's working. I think this, oh no, that's all good. We're obviously getting no power into this, so we'll just check the pins themselves are solid on the board just by giving them a little nudge. They all seem good. We'll just check the capacitors over by M92 here. Okay, and here is probably problem number one. So this top side should be ground, but this bottom side where you can see the trace goes into the chip, this should not be ground. And here, we've got a dead short to ground. So M92 looks like it's got to come off either way. So we know we've definitely got a short on M92 here, but we also can see all this corrosion around the board. So I'm just going to continue digging deeper into this. We'll get the board out and see what the other side looks like as well. So here we have the board out of the chassis here, and I think we got quite lucky with this. So this area here is the top side we were looking at, and this is sort of where all that corrosion was at the bottom. So if we flip it over, it looks pretty clean in that area, if I'm being honest. It doesn't look too bad. So it looks like most of the corrosion did just sit at the bottom of the chassis here, which might mean that our screen is dead, but we'll find out in a little bit. Here we are on that closer area where all that corrosion was. So you can still there see a little bit on the BQ chip there. And you can see there looks like a little bit of like rust on the inductor here. I don't know if there's supposed to be... This is a hole. And the inductor is sort of like rusted through. Let's just give that a little clean. So we're hoping to hear a beep here if we go from one side of this to the other, which we do. So that looks like that might be all right. So we know that we need to replace M92 here. And if we look at the back side of the board, you can see some little bits now. I'll be honest, these little blue bits here aren't corrosion. This is actually just stuff that's on my desk still. And we'll just do another little prod around just to make sure that there's no shorts just in this area as well. So again, I'll put my probe on the port here and we'll just go over these capacitors. And just whilst we're here, we'll just check these filters. So these here are filters into the Pi 3 USB. We should with these get continuity through them, but not diagonally. So they seem all good as well. So what we'll do then is we'll start just by getting the port off, just in case there's anything with that is causing any issues. We'll then swap out M92 and we'll see what we get from there. So to get the port off, what we're going to do is we're going to take some hot air. We're going to just heat up from underneath until this is nice and hot. By that point, we should see these points here start to go molten. We'll be able to lift the port off. At that point, we'll also double check whether that short from M92 has gone. If it hasn't, we'll then pop that off as well. Okay, so that's that port off. And what we'll do now is we'll just make sure that there's like no bridges and all of this is just a bit cleaner. So I'm going to add some leaded solder to this. Hopefully A, clean it up, and B, make sure those pads are a bit better ready for when we add the new port back on. This will also lower the melting temperature as well, so it shouldn't take as long to get the new one back on the board. So that's the old port off, and if we move back up to M92, now I expect this short to still be here because I anticipate the short was probably from M92 itself, but let's just double check that. So I've got one probe on ground again. Yep, so our short's still there. So the next thing we'll do is we'll get M92 off the board. So that's M92 off the board. Let's double check whether our shorts have gone now. So once again, black probe on ground. You can see our shorts have gone. So we'll get a new M92 chip put on there. I've got a mixture of new ones and donors here. So there's every chance that the donor ones might still be faulty, but I think they should be good. So this will go back on this orientation. As you can tell by the little arrow pointing the corner, points to pin 1. Now there should be enough solder on the board there already, but just to make it a bit easier for me, I am going to add some leaded to this, which will hopefully reduce down the melting temperature. Probably find that there's way too much solder on there now, but that should be all good. Just double check again that our shorts have not come back. Nope, so no shorts back there. Let's get a new port on. Okay, so we're going to put a new port on and we're going to do exactly the same thing but in reverse. I'm going to heat it up from underneath, and once it melts, I'm just going to drop the new port in. And here we go, that looks pretty flat to the board there. Maybe a bit higher on one side than the other, but looks pretty secure. Then the underside looks good. So let's just test those pins. Okay, those pins are loose. So I'll just run back over these with an iron, but the fact that these ones are also loose, I'm slightly concerned by the ones underneath, but we'll see. We'll just check these again. Okay, this far end one's still loose. Okay, they're all much better now. Okay, so here we have it. I've replaced M92 and the port. All looks good, so I think we'll just give this a test and see if we get anything different. Ideally, what we'd hope to see to begin with is at least some voltage, but then ultimately we're looking for 15 volts here. So we'll go again in 3, 2, 1. Okay, 15 volts is good. We're at least negotiating from M92, but what I'd expect to see is this figure flashing. The fact it's stuck on one figure doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence there, but we'll try the other side. We do get a reading there, so at least we are connected both ways. Like I said, I would expect to see at that point it go up, come down, and then flicker. That makes me think that there's still a fault with this. But best way to find out would be to get it back in the chassis and see what happens. Okay, so I think we're together enough to test this out, so I'm going to see whether we get anything here. Now, I'm using the original battery that's in there, but I'm not sure how that's going to go given how flat that was. But let's give this a go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that looks like potentially it's just... Oh! We've got a battery charging symbol. So I'm going to leave that to charge and come back to it and see what it does. Okay, so I just went off to do some errands and come back, and the screen's gone off, so I'm hoping it means it's on the sleep screen, which it is. But we look like we're missing the touch screen. That's because I've not put the game card reader in. So let's get this turned off. So we'll get it fully together and we'll test it out. Okay, so I think we're back together enough to test this, and it's come out all right. There's still a few scratches on the screen, but overall looks okay. Back is still a bit scratched up, but let's give this a test. So the first thing we'll do is make sure the touchscreen's working. Yep, fantastic. And see if we can dock any Joy-Cons. There's one. And the other side. That's all good. Let's see if it will read a game. Yeah, so new Pokemon Snap. Game reads fine. Let's see whether it will work with the memory card. And that works all good as well. Now, the only thing I have noticed is I don't think I've heard any sounds. The volume is up, so we have no sound, do we dock? So if we dock, this should come up on the next screen. So if we plug in, okay, screen goes off, and we have no display. Okay, so it's docking, but we don't have a display. So we have no sound and no display. Let's see if it still connects to the internet. Okay, so it connects to the internet as well. So everything seems to be good, but the sound and the display. So looks like we'll have to get this open again. Let's just get this apart. Okay, so I've taken it apart and I've pulled the sort of leads out of here. So on the plus side, the speakers were plugged in, and I didn't do something stupid like just forget to plug them in, but they're still not making a sound. So let's just double check what the resistance on these speakers comes out as. Okay, that doesn't show anything. Does this one show anything? Okay, this speaker was showing in the mega ohms. So that definitely doesn't seem right. But either way, let's keep going through into this because we need to get to the Pi USB chip anyway to be able to work out whether we can get the dock to display. Now, when we look down that side, we checked the filters and the filters were all good. But the I will say the actual chip itself did look a bit iffy, but I thought it'd be all right. But it seems like there's every chance that has also gone. So we've got the board out here, but I'm just going to play the softer side, and I've got a different chassis. So this is not the one that this board has come out of, but I just want to check what the reading on these speakers comes out as. So that shows 8 ohms, which is more in line with what I would expect. And so does that. So that's more like what I'd expect to see, which is what makes me think that it is the speakers themselves that are gone. See if I can find any information about how to get those out. But let's take a look at Pi USB for now. So here we have at the bottom of the screen here, you've got the Pi USB chip, which is the one that deals with the video output, which is what I suspect has gone wrong. I'd say we'll swap this out and we'll do exactly the same with this as we did with M92. We'll come with some hot air, we'll just lift it up and then we'll drop the new one in. Okay, so that was a nice and quick switch over. I had a spare one there ready and it looks like it's gone fairly well. So I'm just going to do a little bit of searching quickly just to see whether it is possible to get the speakers out of the chassis. Okay, so apparently they are just held in with some light adhesive. So we'll see if we can get this out. So this is the one with this presumed broken speakers. Let's see if we can just get underneath this. What I might do is do this under the microscope, then I'll have a better chance of being able to show you and see myself. So here we are, and apparently there's just some light adhesive underneath it. So we should be able to just get underneath and sort of pry it up. We can see there's a slight gap here. We'll try there. You can see it moving. I just need to... Oh, there we go. And you can see down to the speaker there. And if we look, we can see there is actually some corrosion in here in the speaker grill. So there's every chance that is what's killed the speakers there. If that's come through and landed inside the speaker itself. Try the same on this side. Okay, overall that seemed pretty straightforward. Put that one off to the side as well. And this is the chassis for our fixed switch. Put that in there. That stuff you see on the wire is just a thermal paste there. Need this to So it looks like a sort of friction fit in as well. So that's in, and then the other side. Let's get this back together enough to test and see whether we get it to dock and whether we have any sound now. Okay, so I think we're back together enough to test here. So we've got the new speakers plugged in and we've replaced the Pi USB chip. I'm not going to put it all the way together yet because if it doesn't work, I'd rather not have to undo the whole thing again. So first things first, do we still turn on? Yes, we do. Do we boot? Hopefully. Yeah, that's gone quite quickly. We have sound. Yeah, so that's the speakers fixed. Now let's just see how we fixed the display issue. So if we plug this in. Okay, it still drops out. Do we get it showing on the TV? Okay, so it seems like we still have a issue with the dock. So I get this apart again and we'll try replace the Pi USB chip one more time. There's every chance that I put another faulty one on there. So I think that's still the issue. Like I say, normally I would have guessed it could possibly have been the filters, but they are all registering okay, so I don't think it is the filters. Let's see whether that has made any difference whatsoever. Okay, so we're all back together to give this one final test. So everything seems to be working still, but let's see what happens when we plug it in. Screen goes out. Let's go over to the capture card. Yes. Yeah, okay, so that is now all fixed there. So a fair few faults on this one. We had the two speakers are both broken, M92 was gone, and it seems like that Pi USB had gone as well. So amazing, that's another switch brought back to life. So that means we can set our score to 31 to 12. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.